world's second largest and second most populous continent. At about 11.7 million square miles, including islands, it covers 6% of the Earth's total surface area and 20.4% of total land area. With 1.1 billion people as of 2013, it accounts for about 15% of the world's human population. Africa's population is the youngest among all continents. 50% of Africans are 19 years old or younger. This is because of spreading disease and war. The land itself has a large quantity of natural resources, including diamonds, salt, gold, iron, copper, uranium, silver, petroleum, and cocoa beans. Africa is also becoming a hub for oil mining after the 2003 oil crisis and the start of the Second Persian Gulf War. Because of this new search for oil, Uganda has fallen into favor. The East African country lies almost completely in the Nile Basin. Uganda has problems with water sanitation and access to water, and is also facing an AIDS crisis, with 7.2% of the population living with HIV or AIDS in 2013. Uganda has also had to face civil unrest since the late 1800s. It's a lot of information, and to understand it all, we'll have to go back. Way back. After the Berlin Conference in 1884, Africa was split by European countries. Britain gained control of most of Eastern Africa and created country lines. One of the countries formed was called Uganda. Uganda became the British protector of Uganda in 1894, but prior to this change, Uganda consisted of many smaller tribes, the largest one being Buganda. During this time, the British people wanted to centralize the culture of East Africa. However, the original tribal kingdoms of the area were still in place. The people of southern Uganda, formerly Buganda, appealed to the British, offering their services as tax collectors and labor organizers. The British agreed, leaving the native southerners to spread a single culture throughout the new protectorate. They implemented their traditional attire, their traditional food, and their language across every tribe in the Ugandan area. They also encouraged and engaged in mission work, attempting to convert locals to their form of Christianity or Islam. Natives despised the new changes, but the power and friendship that the Ugandan officials had with Britain controlled. Northern Ugandan people became laborers, soldiers, and police for the new country. These issues created grief in the empire, and in 1949, angered Ugandans rioted and burned down the houses of government officials. The rioters set conditions on the new ruling, but the British governor of the area, Sir John Hall, denied the requests and called the riots the work of communist-inspired agitators. The Ugandan African Farmers Union was blamed for the riots and was banned by the British rulers. It was replaced with the Uganda National Congress, but the British quickly quelled their voice too. During World War I, the British began taking full control and direct rule over Uganda. They disregarded any culture and implemented their own. Natives were divided on religious, national, and ethnic grounds. But post-World War II, in 1962, Uganda gained independence from Britain with the help of Milton Obote. After Uganda's independence, Obote was appointed Prime Minister. In 1967, Obote wrote a new constitution which made him president and abolished all of Uganda's tribal kingdoms, effectively making him the absolute ruler of Uganda. 1 year later, in 1968, a man named Idi Amin was appointed Major General of the Uganda People's Defense Force. Amin and Obote were involved in smuggling ivory and gold into Uganda from Zaire. The men had disagreements during this time that drew a rift between them. Amin started creating alliances with other ethnic groups on the West Nile, including Kakwa, Lugbara, and South Sudanese. In 1971, while Obote was in Singapore, Amin seized power of the military. Loyal troops sealed off the airports, surrounded Obote's house, blocked major roads, and took the capital, Kampala. A radio broadcast went out that Obote's rule was found to be corrupt, and the populace was happy that he had been removed from office. 1 week after the seize, Amin named himself President of Uganda, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Army Chief of Staff, and Chief of Air Staff. He got rid of Obote's constitution and wrote his own. The new constitution placed military tribunes over civil law and appointed soldiers to top government positions. Obote took refuge in Tanzania and was soon joined by 20,000 Ugandan refugees fleeing Amin's rule. Amin purged Uganda of any remnants of Obote's rule. He tracked Obote loyalist refugees and killed any soldiers who stood against him. The victims soon came to include members of other ethnic groups, religious leaders, journalists, artists, senior bureaucrats, judges, lawyers, students, intellects, criminal suspects, and foreign nationals. The exact number of people killed is unknown, but the estimated death toll is likely around 300,000. The relationship between Tanzania and Uganda have been strained ever since former President Milton Obote fled there after Amin seized Uganda. But in 1978, Tanzanian forces ambushed Amin in Kampala. Amin escaped with his family and then declared war on Tanzania. Tanzania's forces were small, with only 40,000 active troops. However, when word got around that there would be a counterattack from Uganda, the Ugandan refugees and Tanzanian police officers, national service, and militia joined the army, growing its numbers to 100,000 troops. With the help of Soviet weapons, Tanzanian forces slowly whittled away at Amin's rule. Libya joined forces with Uganda, but even with the extra 2,500 troops, it only took Tanzania 5 months to declare victory. In April of 1979, Uganda was defeated and Idi Amin was removed from power. In 1986, Yoweri Museveni took the presidency. He wrote another constitution that brought stability and peace to Uganda. This lasted 11 years before everything fell apart. Beginning in 1987, a small rebel group called the Lord's Resistance Army had been on the periphery of the government. The LRA was a movement created to force the government out of power and rule Uganda and eventually the world by the Ten Commandments. Its leader, Joseph Kony, was bent on making this happen. In 1994, the LRA crossed the North Ugandan border and established new bases in Sudan. Once it was clear that the LRA had allied with the powerful Sudanese government, the Ugandan government stepped in. The LRA fought the Ugandan National Resistance Army until, in 1995, the LRA attacked and killed villagers in Antioch. In 1996, the LRA kidnapped 139 schoolgirls in Aboke. In 2002, the NRA fought back and launched a major military offensive on the LRA bases in Sudan. In retaliation to that, the LRA attacked the refugee camps in northern Uganda and southern Sudan, brutally killing hundreds of civilians. Slowly, though, the LRA, still led by Joseph Kony, started dropping in numbers. Mortally upset that the movement had been a failure, Kony started abducting thousands of children and turning them into killers. In 2005, the LRA crossed out of the Uganda-Sudan area for the first time into the Dominican Republic of the Congo. This caused diplomatic trouble for the surrounding countries and worried the world of the LRA's growth once again. In 2006, international meetings took place to discuss the fate of the LRA. In August of the same year, the LRA signed a peace treaty that allowed them to keep all of their forces in South Sudan. However, this was very short-lived and was allegedly a cover-up, because in June of 2008, diplomats reported that the LRA had bought new weapons and was growing their numbers again. That December, the LRA killed 400 people in attacks on the Dominican Republic of the Congo, breaking the treaty. A December 2009 attack was reported in early 2010 when President Obama signed the Lord's Resistance Army Disarmament and Northern Uganda Recovery Act, and deployed 100 United States troops to aid anti-LRA forces. In March of 2012, the African Union announced its intentions to send 5,000 troops from countries affected by the LRA to join the hunt for Kony himself and neutralize him. In the 3 years since that statement, Kony has continuously evaded capture and is allegedly hiding in South Sudan. The LRA is still active today, although its numbers have dropped from 3,000 in 2007 to 250 in 2014. The LRA's latest attack was on February 5, 2015, where a band of 20 suspected LRA guerrillas abducted 8 people and engaged in looting villages in the Dominican Republic of the Congo. Obviously, the battle is not over for Uganda or for the rest of the world. The LRA is still rampant and Joseph Kony is still alive and free. The world is going to have to come together in order to eradicate the threat and make sure history does not repeat itself.